What up? It's your girl, Shay J, the interview guru on CTM Media, where we're challenging, controlling, creating, cultivating, and you know what? Changing the narrative. Now, today is no different. I'm sitting with someone who is doing all the 5 C's, and I'm so excited to bring them to our network. Formerly a New York City Urban Fellow, he's a writer, director, and producer of film and television with an honorary doctorate, the founder and curator of the Gospel Music History Archive, the founding director of the Long Beach Indie International Film Festival. His global contributions to arts, education, design, and innovation cannot go unnoticed. When we talk about being Black and brilliant, this man is Black and brilliant. Welcoming the one and only Dr. Daniel Walker.
Hey. How's it going, Shay? What's up?
How are you? How are you? Thank you for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm always watching you doing all your stuff. I'm always like, one day I'm going to be on CT.
I'm next. It's such an honor, Dr. Daniel. I've been blessed to be a part of your International Film Festival in Long Beach. And so just watching what you've done just from that space on has been amazing to see all your speaking engagements. If people have not heard you speak, man, they're in for a treat. They're just, I need them to tap in with you and see the things you've been doing. You're really somebody that I look up to in the space of holding Black people to a different level. When we talk about educating the masses, really coming in with some firm foundational conversational pieces, you're fluid, you're amazing. And I'm just excited to be able to have you here in the network. I think we need people like you to come out and talk. We got to change the narrative and have these type of conversations.
Well, after that kind of introduction, no, thank you for those kind words. But I mean, I'm throwing love right back. I mean, every time I'm checking you out, you are making sure that people are staying conscious. You're keeping the economics at the center. You're keeping creativity at the center. You're keeping entrepreneurship at the center. You're keeping political activism and advocacy and you're doing it all in this beautiful 360-degree, this is who I am flow, which is just, it is to be marveled at. So just in the same way that you may have a level of respect and honor for me, I am part of the Mutual Admiration Society of Shay also. And I want to say this to you because I probably said it, but not in the right way. I thank you so much for your contributions that you have given for the last 3-4 years to Long Beach Indie. I mean, I remember when Tia first brought you in, Tia Jones, and she's like, I got my friend. If we're going to do this, I need somebody else to come in here and help me to manage this entire 5-day festival. I was like, who is this? You come in, your disposition, your ability to connect with people, your professionalism, your everything. And then that's my first intro to you. And then I get to see and know all the rest of these things. And I'm like, man, these folk in Denver be putting it down.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, and this is what it's all about. I think we're in a space now. I've been really looking at honoring Black legends, but really celebrating those living legends that are literally forging the road ahead. And when I watch you, you're forging the road ahead. I mean, so many times we don't get to give people their flowers while they're here. And so I say thank you. I think you hit on something. I wasn't even going to talk about this first, but you hit on something so key. So many times people tell us to pick a path, pick one thing, stick with one thing. That's all you can do. And my conversation piece has been back. No, that's all you can do. Tell me, how do you juggle doing? I can't even read. If I took time to do your whole resume, they'd be like, well, they're still on the show. It's been about an hour. There's no way I can ever touch on all the things you have your hands in. How do you juggle this? How do you find balance? And how did you be able to put the naysayers in the back and say, no, I can do all these things?
Well, I think that at the core of that is, someone once told me, what if humans have done it, humans can do it. I mean, I was like 5. And I remember that being a thing that just stuck in my head, like literally from 5 or 6 years old. And when I was a kid, I became a voracious reader of biographies because I just wanted to know about any human being who had ever done something, you know what I mean? And especially who had overcome, right? Not just, but who had overcome. I don't care if they were white, Black, Latino, Asian, gay, straight, 1,500 years ago, the present. It's the notion of like that the human capacity, right? And so I believe sometimes when you ask that question, when people are saying stay in your lane, whatever else, I always say that, people who haven't done it think it can't be done. Right. And so It's okay if you're a person who your entire thing is one lane, because we need some people who they're in that one lane and they're able to be such an expert in that one lane and move that thing forward and spend 15, 20, 30 years cultivating that lane. That's beautiful. That's a gifting, literally, you know. I just happen to be different.
It's not me.
It's not me. I have a restless spirit.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I've been blessed with a certain level of native intelligence and curiosity. And I think that whenever I run into a roadblock, I'll give you a specific example. I was creating this school. It's called Los Angeles School of Arts and Entertainment. And it was going to be a charter school in Inglewood, California. We're right down the street from Culver City, Hollywood, all the rest of this stuff. It's black and brown kids. This is the ultimate conduit to get all this, the new entertainment complex coming with the Rams Stadium and all this stuff. You got LAX, everything. We got this whole charter petition together. We got the community behind everything else. And then we go to this board meeting, and the board was a group of corrupt politicians. It's just who they were. I'm saying this because 3 weeks after the state took over the district for the malfeasance of these individuals. But these individuals, even though it was all put together, everything was great, they denied this just because of the issue of their own stuff. And I said to myself, I will never, ever let any one individual or 5 individuals have that much control over my life. You know, I'd worked for 2 long years, me, the team, the crew, we had everything. Patrice Russian, a part of it, this, I mean, everything. Academics, the best dual language person in America, the best this, mathematics, everything. But this entity, this board was just about being corrupt. That's all it was. And so to put 2 years into this community building, all the rest of the stuff, and to literally just one night just be like, it's over.
Right.
You know, like it's over, like it's done, like get it, like it's gone, like it's gone. And I will never, ever, 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 ever let anybody have that much control over what I want to do. Now, you can have some control over what you want to do, but not over what I want to do. I'm not going to give anybody that much power. So that means sometimes I got to blaze my own trail. Sometimes I dig my own grave. Sometimes, you know, but I couldn't give anybody else that power again. I mean, you know, just like to.
That's so good.
Gone. So I've been a person even before that, but that crystallized it. I think you have these, you know, as you grow and get older, you have these pivotal moments at different times. And there'll be one, I was 5 years old, I heard this thing. There'll be another one, maybe I was 27, this happened. And then that thing happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it continues to push you to go ahead with the next thing. Out of that was the Long Beach Indie International Film Festival. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Nobody's going to stand in my way. I'm going to get the best venues. You know, you've been there. We're going to get the top stuff.
Like, this is A-list. This is not just a little film festival around the street that you didn't win and did. This is A-list, like top of the line.
Yeah. And so in that notion, you know, I wanted to be able to help young people have a career path in arts, entertainment, digital media. And as you know, at the film festival, we have a whole conference and everything dedicated to young people. So I wasn't able to get it with the school. You get where I'm coming from, that stop. I said, this is not going to stop me again. I then created another platform, and that actually opened up even more avenues, because I always tell people, you got to change the conversation. Whatever group or whatever endeavor you want to go down into, you got to change the conversation so that you have control of the conversation. Because, you know, anytime you want to go into something, if you think about arts, entertainment, media, or whatever else, the conversation is always like a studio, a distributor, somebody else has the power. And you, the masses, are out there saying, whether it's record industry, listen to my demo, right? You know what I mean? And as long as you're that, you're just one of the masses. So you have to change the conversation so that people want to have a conversation with you. So switching and then now controlling the film festival, where studios are asking me, can I have my film in? Can my artist be highlighted? Whatever else, means that we now have a conversation as equals.
Yes.
And then the next conversation we have is as colleagues. And then the next conversation we have is people who want to build together. But it starts with the person having to respect what you're bringing to the table. Because otherwise, it's a pyramid. There's a top and everybody else at the bottom, and you're just one of the masses screaming, can I be put on? can I be put on? What you're doing right here, Shay, you're not saying, wait till NBC puts me on. Wait till Netflix puts me on. Wait till whatever else. You are saying, I'm going to do this. I put this out here. I learn these things. Nobody else controls who my guests are. Nobody else. And you're putting your buzz, your credibility, all that stuff. And just because of the interviews that you have, you know this, you end up having then a respect level with somebody, which turns into conversation, which turns into let's build. So,
man, I don't know if people know, but you just gave a whole bunch of game. Like it must be Free Game Friday because that was game. Like I'm like, wait a minute. Like you were literally Free Game Friday. Like I'm like, wait, did you give out all that game? We're not even charging for this. So anybody who's watching right now, when we put this out, I need you to share this out to everybody in your network because this. I think you're hitting something so pivotal because we're getting to a space now where when I'm talking to the younger generation, where they're really trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and they're looking at pathways that have already been laid out for them. And so many times you have to blaze your own trail. You have to create your own pathway. How did you get confident in your purpose? How did you know, like, this is what I'm supposed to do? Because so many times everyone is trying to, transition you into another space and say, no, this is for you. No, this is for you. You look better over here. And sometimes we get into that space like, well, maybe I should just do what they say I need to do. How did you get comfortable?
It hasn't always been easy. I struggle with it all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes I'm an academic in one hat I wear. So sometimes I go, well, if I'd have just stayed as a professor and just writing books, I'd have written 25 books by now. You know what I'm saying? And if I'd have just stayed as only film and television, I would have 3, more films than this one. And if I only stayed as a community activist, I would have this. And if I only stayed, but I've learned the older I've gotten, it's the fact that I have these multiple intelligences and that I'm able to then nurture and mentor somebody in these other fields because I understand what it is because I'm in there enough to really know. But I'm not the person, just like we talked about, I'm not the person who's going to say I'm doing 35 years to life in that field. But I know some things that I can shorten the other person's learning curve. And I've learned that God has put in me the ability to say this, maybe this is not for me. The reason he took me down this road for 2 or 3 years was to help someone else who wants to go down that road for good. So I can go back to that school. So it didn't happen. But I've advised so many people and the schools have been created because of the instance that I had there. So it frustrated me, pissed me off. Let's be real, set me back, put me in a funk for a while. And then it was like, okay. And then I see people calling me saying, hey, what about this? How can I do this? And I'm going, hey, here's the template. Here's such and such. Here's this. Here's some connections. So I started to realize that seed planting
that's good.
Just as much as being able to take the produce to the market and get the money for it. You know what I'm saying? So seed planting is just as important. And I consider myself, I'm a seed planter sometimes. And sometimes I'm a harvester taking it to the market, getting paid for it. It's okay.
Man. This is how you trust your journey. I mean, this is literally when we say trust the journey because it's leading you to the next space and the next thing, and you open up the door for someone else, and really understanding that when you shine light on someone else, it takes away nothing from you. Like that is the mindset we have to start to cultivate. I was talking to a group of people the other day, and they were like, Shay, I wanted to do some things in media, but I see you're doing this and I see you're doing that, so I don't know where to start. And the conversation I started having, like, there's an ABC, an NBC, a CBS, a CNN. They're fine. And when we talk about people, my other friend, he's a chef, and he was like, there's another chef up the street. I'm like, bruh, there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, there's a Carl's Jr., there's a Burger Hut, we can all win. And figuring out what that recipe is for you, figuring out what your special sauce is that brings people to your table while still letting someone else have their table. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think we struggle with that a lot in the Black community because it's been told to us that it only can be one thing. We can only be, stay here. There can only be one of us here. How untrue is that?
We can all prosper. We can all move forward. Just like you said, there's already a rib joint. There's 80,000 burger joints, right? And every one of them is out there getting a paper. Right. And we got to realize that everything is not for everybody. Right. So maybe your sauce on the ribs is different than this sauce, and somebody needs that sauce on the ribs. That's what you're providing. Right. So stop worrying about that other thing or competition. Look, we all got to prosper together. For us as Black people to build.
Yeah.
All right. We can't be like, we only have one cookie maker and one fashion designer and one. No, we got to build. That means in Denver, we got to be building. That means Aurora, you got to be building. That means in Boulder, you got to be building and building all these different nodules of power, of influence, and of networks and resources. One of the best things that I've learned, and I know you've been privy to this because I do it sometimes with you, is that I realize that sometimes I'm just here to be a facilitator.
Right.
It's like this comes, somebody's like, back in the day, I used to think this means this person approaching me means I need to work with them on this and kind of be a partner and move forward. Now what I've realized, I'm a facilitator. So I'll go, no, Shay, you need to talk to this person, make the introduction, and then I move away because y'all two are supposed to be talking about this. So that's cool.
That's so
and
good.
Facilitation doesn't take all this from me, right? It doesn't. Right. It's just me giving a trust introduction from one standpoint. Hey, this is my girl. Her name is Shay. And then the other person knows who I am and knows to trust me. So I'm saying, and Shay, this is Deborah Johnson. She's now head of the Metropolitan Transit Authority in Denver or whatever else. Now connect these two people and then I get out the way because Shay is competent and amazing and innovative. And Deborah is competent and amazing and innovative. And I just sit back and watch it grow.
Well, when you know your power, I think you're just so much more willing to access the way you move differently when you understand your power. You know, when we're looking at, there's so many people now that are young entrepreneurs that are coming up and that are trying to get a grip on this thing. And there's so many things that are fantasized in the world of what entrepreneurship looks like. We know it looks nothing like the fantasy that people are putting out there at all. What is a word of advice you can give for those entrepreneurs that are coming up, that are getting discouraged, that are not like, it doesn't look like what they said it was going to be. It's not this thing. And, you know, I get to do what I want when I want to, and I'm an entrepreneur. And that's not the realization, not the real life of entrepreneurship. What piece of advice can you give to them?
Dig in.
Ooh.
Dig in.
Yeah.
It is not for the faint of heart.
Come on.
You know, you got to dig in. If you just think putting the sign out there and opening the door is it,
that'd be great.
You got to dig in because losses are going to come. There is no business. No, I don't care if it's Warren Buffett. I don't care if it's Bill Gates. I don't care if it's Oprah Winfrey. I don't care if it's Robert Johnson. I don't care who it is. You are going to have failures and defeats, especially in the beginning. You know what I mean? Because you don't have credibility yet. You know what I mean? So you got capital that you got to get. You got advertising, marketing, employee issues. And if you're just running out of your house, you're trying to figure out how do you balance the 9 to 5 and the thing that you want to become your full-time hustle, right?
Right.
And so you got all these things. So you got to dig in and say to yourself that I am willing and ready to grow with this, but also I'm open to change because I could be wrong. The product could be wrong. I could be wrong. That packaging could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. And that's okay because we can stay down. You know, a lot of businesses fail because they're just staying within. It's like all you need to do is tweak that location you thought wasn't the right location. You grew too quick. You got this building when you could have done it out your kitchen for the next year to keep and stack your chips so that you wouldn't have this. So you got to be able to understand that you could be wrong too. So accept mentorship, you know, continue to educate yourself. Yeah. If that's the competition, you need to, hey, you know, the Coming to America 2 is coming out next month, right? Or this month. Yes. Sometimes you got to be McDowell's.
Period. We got the sesame seeds with sir, that's the same thing. But okay.
Sometimes you got to be Cleo McDowell, right? You got to be studying the operational manual of the competition, figuring out what they got, and then maybe yours is just that little thing that switches up, or maybe they're not reaching this population, or maybe so you have to study your competition. No, read it, figure it out, dig in. Oh, that's what they do. So that's my competition. Let me get with it. But you got to be Cleo McDowell sometime until the time switches, and you can go ahead and put Cleo's up there. But for a time, you might have to be. They got the golden arches. I got the golden M.
I got the golden M. The sun arch is the M. Like, sir. No, you're speaking a word, and I think something that we don't talk about enough in the Black community is how important is mentorship to get to your next space.
Accept it, look for it, thrive in it, utilize it. Hey, I just need something. I just have a question. Can I ask you something? I don't know this field. Can I ask you something? Early in my career, I think I received mentorship, but I wouldn't be direct about it. You know, like even though you say, oh, he talks a lot, I'm a huge listener.
Right.
I listen like crazy. So I go into a forum where somebody's talking and I'm just absorbing. You know what I mean? Just absorbing. And I don't say anything. People be like, why do you say? Because I'm not saying nothing to prove who I am. I'm trying to learn. You know what I mean? And when I ask a question, sometimes people be like, you got a doctorate, you whatever. So you ask that basic question. Because I'm trying to learn. You know what I mean? Like somebody's using an acronym. I don't know what it is. They just keep saying the CAP, the FHR, or whatever else. And I just go, excuse me. And the assumption is everybody knows it. Then you look around and you're like, nobody else knew what they was talking about. Everybody was sitting in there.
Everybody wanted to know, and everybody was scared to ask.
So I in the beginning, I wouldn't say, I want you to be my mentor. I would go out there and whatever else. Because I say, I'll blaze my own trail, you know, also dig my own grave. But I always was active in putting myself in situations to receive knowledge from those who know. I'll give you a quick one. I was, 22, 23 or whatever else. And Famous Amos of Famous Amos Cookies was coming to speak in San Diego. And, he's coming to speak in San Diego, and entrepreneurship and all, and plus just a model of a Black man making it, creating, being innovative, all the rest of this stuff. And so he was speaking at this big hotel, some conference, people were paying hundreds and whatever else to go to this conference, whatever else. So I used to have this flow that I would do. I have one suit, this blue suit. Anybody who's watching know what I'm talking about. He got this blue suit. All right. This blue suit, one of them $100 a suit, the shoes, the socks, one of them deals, right? But I used to put that sucker on, right? And so I used to go to conferences where there were people who I wanted to see. And I just said to myself, act like you're supposed to be here.
Come on now.
Walk in places. Now, if somebody says something, because you're in a hotel and there's all these people walking, and a lot of times ain't nobody looking at the badge, right? They just
right.
Well, I'm looking, checking them out. I'm just in the audience. Then the thing is over with, and I'm walking past, and it was in essence the green room. And he's sitting in there, and the door is cracked. Now I'm like, I could go get in my car, or I could go and try to talk to him personally. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to talk to him personally. So
I know what you did.
You know what I mean? And you can imagine there's somebody security like, excuse me, such. And I just shot game from the minute I walked in. I'm just here trying to meet Famous Amos and everything else. I've been a fan of whatever else, blah, 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 blah. And he could hear me because it's right in the door. And then he said, let him in.
Come on.
And I sat there and listened. Ask a question, let him go. It's experiences like that where I just bootleg myself some knowledge. I'm trying to get up in there. So it's that kind of thing where, and like I said, that door was open. It was like, I could keep walking. I've already won by being in the keynote, and nobody got me, right? I've already won. Right. But I'm like, I feel this dude's spirit. What he was saying up there, the majority of the people, I think it was 97% of the people were non-Black in this thing. I mean, it's Famous Amos. He's talking about entrepreneurship. And I think he knew when I opened the door, he was saying to himself, that's me when I was that. Exactly. And I'm going to be open to this brother trying to push in and get in the door. So mentorship, like I say, the older I've gotten, I've become more of a mentor. But I found that it's about making sure that I give people their respect. Sometimes we do this stuff. They ain't nothing. All they did was this. They ain't nothing. All they did. I don't like the way they do this. I peep game. And I'm like, okay. All right, that's how you do it. Okay. I always tell people, like in film and television, I'm like a poor man's Bill Gates, Henry Louis Gates, and he'd be like, "What you mean?" So Henry Louis Gates, he just had this great documentary about the Black church. He does all this stuff, the thing about heredity. So I do a lot. We are in the same lane in a lot of things, but this dude's up here. What do? Watch, peep game. I don't hate. I mean, like the way he talks sometimes, like, and I'm like, man, this dude is up here as an academic doing this stuff, making these things happen. Peep game. Because he's opening a door. Because when I walk into a studio or whatever else, It's like, what do you mean you're like an academic, but you make films and they have historical content? And I have to, in film and television, you have to be able to say it in a way that people understand it. And to say, it's like what Henry Louis Gates does. Oh, okay, now
That's
we
good. Yeah.
Because sometimes people can't see it. You got this concept, they can't see it unless it's given to them in nodules that they can understand. So if you say, like, it's kind of like In and Out, but it doesn't take nothing from you, because sometimes people can't, it's new. They can't catch. And you want to be so, I'm so different, I don't have, and it takes you 85 years to explain what you to somebody because you don't know. But if you just say it's like In and Out, but with some soul, then they go, oh.
I get it now. I get it. Okay, this is really Free Game Friday now. Like, I get it. And I think that's so important because so many times we're trying to be so extremely different and that we can't clearly articulate what we do, how we do, what our vision is, what our anything, because we're like, I don't want to compare it to anybody. But once again, it takes nothing away from you. How important is it to have or did you have a clear vision when Dr. Daniel was growing up? Did he say, he wasn't Dr. Daniel yet, but little Daniel, was he saying, this is what I'm going to do, this is what my vision looks like, or did it just fall into your lap? What was vision like for you?
I've always been, I could always see things clearly, literally. I could see things clearly. I have photographic memory. I could see things clearly. I can kind of lay it out. It's funny to me because sometimes I'll be in a space and I go, I've been here before, and I haven't, but I have, because I had already visualized.
Yeah.
Well, the game is already ready because I'm already like, if this happens, this is where I'm going to be. So I think acknowledging your dreams, validating them, that you're having them for a reason. They're not crazy. They are the blueprint. And to this day, I keep a pad right by my bed because when I'm thinking, idea comes up and I'm just boom, 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 boom. And sometimes in the middle of the night, I sketch it because I have thousands, I don't say thousands, but hundreds of these little notebooks. I've been keeping them since I was a kid. And I just write my stuff out. And for me, I have to see it like that. I have to like draw and make squares and make whatever else. That's my game. That's what I do. But it trips me out when I go back and, like, my buddy's name's Mike Baisley. Mike from the film festival.
Yeah.
He hit me up once, and because I used to always stay with him a lot when I was coming to LA and stuff. And he would be like, I found these in my garage. And it's like 2 or 3 of these notebooks. And then I go through the notebooks and I realized that here are these things that I was dreaming about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. These came to fruition. These didn't. These I was a facilitator on. These still have yet to come. So I think for me, it's always been that I have this, I could visualize, but Daniel Walker, everybody else has a different thing. Me, it's squares, circles, lines that connect, and it's text. And I write all this stuff. And sometimes I realize I've wrote the same thing 38 different times, right? But that means I'm clear. I know what I'm doing because I've been thinking about this and writing about it and kind of laying it out and then going to the places, standing in the corner. This is where I think this could happen. Going and looking. I keep going back to, you got to look at the competition. You got to study the competition. What are they doing good? Incorporate that. What are they missing? That's your niche. And then dig in, because you got to dig in. You got to dig in.
Man, you got to dig in. And I love that you're so authentic in the space of, these are the things I have to do to be okay. Because so many times we're like, well, no one else is doing it like that. So maybe I have to write it down, or maybe I should type it, or maybe, like, you're trying to fit in this cookie cutter, and there's no cookie cutter way. There's no easy way to success. There's no cookie cutter way to vision. And literally figuring out what works for you is what works. And I think that's so important, because so many times people are sold, if you do it this way, you'll be successful. And if you do it like this, and this is how it should be. No, figure out what works for you. And that authenticness, you being so authentic in that space is like, wow. I would love more people to share that and share what makes them great and what makes them successful, because it's not a one way. There's just not one way.
Yes.
Dr. Young, you're amazing. As I'm just looking at, you have so many things that you've done. You have in so many different realms. Who inspired you to really be who you are today? Who would you say that really was like, this was my inspiration? This is why I do what I do.
I have to say it's my mother and my father. You know what I mean? And I don't have this, you know, it's not there. My mother and father were together and they were 38 years or 50 years of marriage, and
no perfect thing. You don't have a perfect story.
My mother and father were never married ever. You know, they were never together. I never have seen my mother and father live in the same place. My dad was basically non-existent until I was about 11. I mean, he maybe came around 5 or 10 times between 0 and 11. But in 11, he came into my life and he stayed there forever. You know what I mean? And when we got older, he just was like, dude, I was into some stuff that I didn't want you exposed to. And because I know this dude, his heart and who he really was, I can see my dad, the way that he was at 20 something, probably being like, I'm into this stuff and I don't want my son, my seed, nothing around any of this stuff. But people are going to trip on this. My dad was an ice cream man. You'd be like, what is an ice cream man? You're like, how you get it? My dad was an ice cream man. As a eulogy, that was my sermon, was my dad is ice cream man. But, and our route was South Central Los Angeles and Watts. So at 11, I started going to stay with my dad in the summers, and I would work on the ice cream truck. What did that do? It exposed me to so many people. My mathematical skills through the roof, because I got to figure this stuff out and whatever else. Boom, 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 boom. Make changes. 20 people out here, and my dad trusted me. He saw something very early, because I'm 12. He would just stay up in the front. There'd be a crowd, and he trusted that I was counting the money right, doing the stuff right, serving the people. And then if we got too big of a crowd, then he'd come back. We had a little thing. We say tea time. He'd come back there and boom, boom, boom. We making banana splits and doing whatever else. But I found out how I had to be able to think quickly. And it's this notion of being an entrepreneur. I didn't think about it. I used to be like embarrassed. My dad's an ice cream man. My dad was an entrepreneur. He leased the truck, and then he got the supplies, and he went out there. And some days we come out and we'd be like, we came up today. And other days we'd be like, we're going to get this early tomorrow because it didn't go
all the neighborhoods tomorrow.
Yeah, we got to get at. And my mother, she was a person, you know, who my mother was my stepfather, the only dude who ever lived in the house with me. He claimed me as his own when I was a little kid, but he met my mother when she was pregnant with me, working as a stripper off Western in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So watching my mother educate herself off of welfare. I mean, literally, community college, 1 class, 2 classes, 3 classes, boom. And even while we were on welfare, my mother, entrepreneurial, she used to go and have an idea. We're going to sell potted plants at the swap meet. We're going to sell mistletoe during Christmas. We're going to sell whatever else. We was always creating, making some little thing. It never made anything big or anything like that. But watching her educate herself, community college, then she had a respiratory technician certificate. Then she went respiratory therapist. Then she went back to school at 47 and becomes an RN. You know what I mean? And this person always pushing and helping others. The minute she got okay, my mother started a community program feeding people for 17 years straight out of her dime. You know, anybody who came on a Thursday, Bethel AME Church, Fontana, California, my mother was feeding you, and she made sure she only used plates, glass plates, not paper plates. She only used real silverware. She said, just because somebody's having a hard time doesn't mean you need to treat them differently. She wouldn't cook some stew in a pot. It would be, we're having prime rib, we're having such and such, we're having this. This is what I'm treating these folks to, because we were the same people needing something, and we just needed somebody to believe in us to get us to the next stage, and not to start trying to, you know, treat us like we didn't have intellect or value just because we were homeless or anything like that. So it's my mother and father, and I realize it now. I'd be like, why do I grind so much? Because my mother and father was always grinding. Why do I care for other people? Because no matter what, my mother and father always cared for people. My daddy used to do this. Kids would come up to the ice cream truck, and you know this, it's the ice cream truck. You guys know, everybody going crazy, ice cream truck. And there'd be like a little kid, you can imagine, who didn't have any money and who didn't have parents who go, you know, and this is Watts, South Central, 12 o'clock at night. We were in Jordan Downs housing projects from 12 to 2 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Everything. And my dad would always be like, we had these little popsicles that had 2 sticks in them. And he would always say, nobody leaves with nothing. So we break them in half and give one kid one half and the other kid the other half, even if they didn't have any money. Because the point was, he understood and was trying to say, I would hate, you would hate to be that kid who everybody else on the corner got some ice cream and you're the one who doesn't. So that notion of reaching out. So I learn, and I'm gaining the wisdom of the stuff the older I get. Because sometimes when we're young, we don't think about it. I'm like, that's where that's from. It was like, don't ever leave any kid out there. Don't do that. That's not, there's nothing, the economics of this thing is not that important where you can't get his kid. You know what I mean? Because You're not
I
going
feel like I understand you so much more better now, just from those two sides, because this is who you are at the core, your integrity, your value system. This speaks to why you move the way you do, the way you include everyone, the way you treat the person, the highest director from the person that's coming and collecting the tickets at the front. I mean, this really makes me understand. I'm like, how? How do you do this? That type of upbringing? Man, I whoa, I could talk to you for hours, Dr. Walker. I know we got to get to wrapping up. Tell me, what is that mantra that you live by? What are your words that you're living by? What does that look like for you?
It's still, if humans have done it, humans can do it. It's still, I learned that when I was 5 or 6. If humans have done it, humans can do it. As long as I got breath in my lungs and blood flowing through my veins, then that means I'm still on this side of heaven, right? And that means that it's possible. It's still possible. It's still possible. Lastly, I'm a little bit older, and that cat who did Me in Miami,
Yeah.
he's an older dude, and he done started making his thing happen. You know what I mean? And I started. I started saying that there's no timetable on dreams.
Thank you.
I can do anything that humans can do. I can do, and there's no timetable on dreams. There's no deadline. There's no finish date. There's no expiration date. So I don't care if you're 18 and you think I can't do this because maybe it's sports, and you were like everybody else was playing, and they all got scholarships and whatever else, and I did. No expiration. Go on and get yourself in there, start moving this up. I'm an artist. I never did this. No, now you're retiring. Hey, you got time. You got a little money. Buy you some easels. Start putting your stuff out there. See what you can do. You can reinvent and make it again. But humans have done. Humans can do. Next part. There's no expiration on dreams. So I wake up every day and I say that to myself. And some days
if you're not encouraged now, I mean, if you're not encouraged now, I don't know when you will be encouraged. Like at this level, the empowerment that you're really implementing into our brains and our minds, if humans have done it, it can be done. So many times we give up so fast because it doesn't happen like this, that instant gratification. Dr. Daniel, you're putting in the work, you're creating a legacy. And with that, what do you want your legacy to be when you go away? What do you want your legacy to be?
Honestly, that this dude tried, that I actually tried, that whatever God gave me, I took whatever that was, and then I tried. And sometimes I fail, I fall short, I disappoint myself, but I tried. You know what I mean? I tried. I really, really, really tried. So as long as, my legacy for my kids, my kids and everything else is they can look at it and say, my daddy tried. He tried. He took the little bit he had, the little scraps or whatever, and he tried. And hopefully I made an impact on some people, some institutions, put some models out there for some folk to be able to do, uplifted some people, but really that he tried.
There's no trying. You have done, and you have definitely made your, I know I've been empowered by you. Your impact, it doesn't go unnoticed. And I know it's only going to get better because the best is yet to come. I see what you're doing. I see the wisdom. I see the growing. I'm watching this in real life time, and I'm watching a living legend create their legacy in real time. And I'm honored to be a part of this. I want you to fill in the sentence for me, or these sentences. I can
do anything.
I will
pursue my dreams.
I must
create a legacy.
Dr. Daniel Walker, the one, the only Dr. Daniel Walker. Any last words for our audience?
Just, Shay, I love you. And I want you to continue to be encouraged. I know, once again, when you're out there pushing in so many different areas, and sometimes you look at your own bank account, you're like, right, I need to start doing a little something for me on this one because, these other things, but stay encouraged. And as you said, figuring out that next stage, how do I monetize? I'm telling the crew, don't be afraid of the word monetize. You got to get your paper to make something happen. But I want to encourage you and just keep pushing, keep doing it, keep trying, because you are setting a legacy. You are creating, you are setting it out there, and you're doing it with such grace, transparency. I love seeing you when you're out there working out, or you're at some,
the road,
or you styling at your birthday party, you know what I mean? Or you're doing this, or you're giving a forum and a platform for people to express. and to see what they're doing, and so that the community can be better. So I just want to encourage you, keep doing what you're doing. You are making an impact. People are seeing what you're doing, and all these things are just laying the foundations and paving the path for that dream that you have, that is inside of you, that I know, and that is going to come to pass because you are out there helping other people get to theirs. I don't think that the universe, the creator, does not ignore when we're out there doing for others. I know he rewards that. She rewards that. The creator, the universe, all falls in line with that. So just stay on the course and keep doing it.
Man, thank you so much. Keep challenging, controlling, creating, cultivating, and changing the narrative. Dr. Daniel Walker, thank you for coming to CTM Media. Those of you for tuning in, I'm your girl, Shay J, the interview guru. Until next time, peace and love, family. Hey, guys.
Bye-bye.